Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Sub LBC here doing another video episode of Growing for Freedom. And in this video, we're going to be doing a little bit of a audio dub. Actually, the audio that came in through this video originally was just really bad because of all the wind that is being created by the AC compressor, as well as just a ton of background noise, as you can imagine from the video that we're getting here. So in this video, really wanted to describe the technique that I'm using to ventilate my attic. And as I may have mentioned in the Ultimate Gorilla Grow Nursery, we are running a fully 100% stealth compressor. And this is obviously really useful. Obviously, if you have it outside, it's something that people can see and not necessarily, a precarious, not necessarily something you want to have clandestine, but because of the fact that it's out there in this particular neighborhood might just draw some attention, not only to what is the activity, but the device itself, has scrap metal value. I mean, that's how it is, guys, when you're living in the hood. And if you do want to be ultimately stealthy, regardless of where you are, then it usually makes a good idea to hide your compressor, especially if you already have a compressor unit for central heating and cooling, and you have to install a second one. That's definitely going to be a red flag. So if you are going to bring this thing into an attic, the most important thing to focus on is ventilation. And I want to talk about some of the trials and tribulations that we've gotten or that we've had up until this point. And my idea originally was to install just this thing, which is a 1200, approximately maybe almost 1300 CFM Max Fan 10. That's pretty well placed right above the compressor. But when we got hit with our very first heat wave, not really heat wave, but a hot day, we're approaching 90 degrees almost outside. This thing was not anywhere close to enough to get the heat. And because it was right in the prime area of where the compressor is, basically doing its heat exchange, this thing got really hot. In fact, the manifold there close to the exit portion of the run was like hot to the touch. You couldn't even keep your hand on it for any prolonged period of time without actually getting burned. That's how hot it got. And obviously we knew that we had a problem and that we had to correct it. So we went ahead and got the ceiling fans. Now these are attic fans. When I originally wanted to do this, I was actually kind of looking along the the whole house fan type style. Dayton actually is a fan company that specializes in making this kind of stuff. And you obviously if you've spent any time on Granger, you've probably seen their stuff. But when it came to getting the roofers to put the thing in, it just ended up looking like it was going to be a lot more complicated. So instead, decided to go with these fans from a company called GAF, and I'll include links in the description. And these are readily available at Home Depot. These are attic fans. They come in three, power ratings. I think the model numbers are like the CER V4, with the top of the line model, at least at Home Depot, being the ERV6, which is a 1,500 CFM fan. Now, keep in mind, these are, static pressure fans. They're not designed to work against a load like the Max fan is. But for venting your attic, this is, really the way to go. Not only are they very stealthy with their mushroom top, and, they also have a, it's very convenient basically for the roofers to put them in. They already got the flashing there. All you have to do is just pull some shingles away, put it up there, nail it in, seal it, and then, re-shingle around the edges. And that's basically it. So we went ahead and installed 4 of these things, giving us a total of 6,000 cubic feet per minute. And then, of course, you add the max fan on top of that. That puts us at over 7,000 CFM, which in an attic this size, which is approximately, give or take, about 20,000 cubic feet, gives us the ability to vent the entire attic, air in less than 3 minutes, roughly. And one little added bonus too was the fact that these fans here came with an integrated thermostat. So if you do want to get creative with your temperature settings, you can stagger them. You set the first one at maybe 75 degrees just to keep a constant airflow in the attic. And then as it gets hotter, you can, work them up in increments of 5 degrees or 1 degree or 3 degrees or, whatever you feel comfortable. Although the accuracy of these things is, not 100% pinpoint, so I don't think a 1 degree increment would really make a lot of sense. 5 degree probably being the way to go. But the way I've elected to set up these fans is to actually set all of their temperatures to 1 degree below the target temperature of the garden itself, which is directly below this attic. And the main logic behind that is, just to basically eliminate any situation where radiant heat from the attic is going to disturb, the environment of the downstairs garden. Because, at the end of the day, no matter what, you want to make sure that you're not wasting your air conditioning to work on heat being created by the compressor. It's kind of like a feedback loop, and then obviously it is very inefficient. Now, I will say that it's not like we're probably going to be able to, at least in the hot summertime, be able to get the attic temperature to fall below the target temperature of the garden. And I understand that. But that's the way it would be all the time anyways. You know what I mean? So no matter what, we just want to make sure that the compressor is making a very, very low impact or no impact at all whatsoever on the environment of the garden, which is directly below. So I figured this is a good way to go. And if, for whatever reason we want to try more, we can add probably up to 2 more of these things because they only consume 1.6 amps of electricity per unit at 110 volts, which is pretty good. I would have preferred if they would be available in a 220 volt version, although it would have added the extra inconvenience of having to, pre-wire 220 and all that. But, at this point, we always want to keep our amperage load as low as possible. But I will say with the 110 volt, they're very easy to work with in regards to wiring. In fact, the way I did it was just to cut up some orange extension cords. Obviously a 16 gauge extension cord is way good enough to handle a measly 1.86 amps at 110 volts. So I just went ahead and cut them. In fact, these things are so weak, they don't even require a ground. You can just basically wire the black cable, the white cable, use those little twisty things. I don't know what they're called. Basically, you just twist the wires together, put the cap on, and then just bind it up real tight with electrical tape, and then just run them to our pre-wired plugs that we've got all over this attic. In fact, when we did the electrical for the garden, not only did we just completely deck it out with electrical everywhere, and I'll probably go over that in more detail in future videos, but we also prepared knowing that the compressor was probably going to give us some problems. So we wanted to have electrical here on standby to basically wire up these types of solutions. And from the outside, they really don't look that interesting to anyone, which is great and incredibly quiet. Again, they don't make any noise. They're completely weatherproof, waterproof, and coming in at only $135 per unit. It's pretty much a no-brainer, you know what I'm saying? In fact, I believe that our roofers charged us $600 to have these things installed. So essentially $150 per unit installed. And when you added it all up, I think we're getting a much better solution than the whole house fan from Dayton, because those fans, those are belt-driven systems, and some come with the motor, some don't. Assuming that they do, and they meet the CFM requirements and all that, you're looking at about $1,000 right off the bat, and that doesn't include any solutions for shrouding, nor does it include any solutions for sealing or anything. You have to get all that stuff on by yourself, and then get the shingles and all that. So I think that these are definitely a way to go. Plus, you get the fault tolerance. So now looking at the video, guys, you can check out our air handler, and you can see where we're running the water tube from the not only from the air handler itself, but also from the dehumidifier down below, which runs to that little Everlast pump, which then pumps the water to the drain. So that's how we're doing all of our water evacuation. Again, really amazing that dehumidifier can pump water all the way above into this area. It's just great. And you can also get a look at our intake. Now, one thing that is a little bit of a concern here at this point is that you can see that we're only using 1/2 of the intakes on the handler. You can see it's got the 2 white filter boxes on the left and right side, and those each have their own filter. But because of convenience, we're just running a single run into that, and then from there you can see we've got the the large trunk, and then each one of those breaks down into 8-inch insulated ducting, which terminates to each of the drop-down ducts, for the rooms in the garden below. And it's a very, very good system. The HVAC guy does pretty much say that this is more than enough. I don't know, we might want to put in a second, because we're still going through some testing. I still think that we should be able to go cooler. But then again, I might be misevaluating the environment, because again, when you're not in a basement, the amount of heat you have to deal with is a lot different. So, there's a possibility we may not be able to crank the load as much as I thought we would be able to, at least in the summertime. But at least for now, the system is running sound. We've actually had the compressor itself completely detail cleaned, all the components checked out, making sure our compressor fan motor is good, and that everything is running nice and smooth. Obviously we rely a lot on this air conditioning unit in order to maintain the sanctity of the garden below. So, we're getting all the dust cleaned out, making sure to change the intake filter pretty regularly, although the garden room itself is fairly clean, so it's not like we're dealing with the crap in the attic coming through the intake filter for the AC unit. But the compressor definitely does have to deal with that crap. So keeping that compressor well maintained is, pretty much paramount in regards to keeping this garden functional. Again, when you lose this thing, we're screwed, So that's pretty much it, guys, for this video update. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Otherwise, next video, I'm going to be returning back to the 12 plant, 12 light room to show you guys the progress of how everything is going with that. So as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you all next time.